There is no central. Somebody just sit down.
Bitcoin is
Very peaceful.
good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Real Bitcoin's here to stay, and you need to be a part of it. I want to start off, right, by talking about, right, my title, which is Bitcoin 1000x. You're like, oh, damn, I gotta come see that. What's that mean? Does that mean that Bitcoin's gonna go 1000x from here? That means I could buy Bitcoin now, and tomorrow I'm gonna have $20 million if I put in $10 million, $10,000 into Bitcoin? No. What I'm talking about, right, is how Bitcoin is 1000x better than our current monetary system. Our current monetary system is a wealth transfer system. It transfers wealth from the poor and the middle class to the rich. It does that in many different ways. Through inflation is one way, but also through taxation. What you don't realize, and it's been commissioned by the Reagan administration when they decided, well, where does this tax money go? And you could look it up. It was a report, and the results was the tax money goes to pay the interest on the debt. And where did they get the money when they borrowed it? Well, in most cases, right, the banks just printed the money and then gave it to the government. So they effectively have a slave from all of you who work, right, to pay the taxes. And if you don't pay the taxes, you go to jail. So they have a guaranteed income, and they did not do anything to make that money. This is a horrible system. In fact, it's been done thousands and thousands of times in history, and the result is always the same. Society, we start off with good money, solid money, such as gold, silver, and then society builds. We increase, we come up with great art, great literature, great music, but then once we introduce bad money, society starts to degrade. And we've seen this, if you've read history, over and over again. Once the money gets debauched, once it gets destroyed, society collapses, and generally, only the top wealthiest people who understand what's going on make it to the top and survive. And those are not the greatest people on the planet. They're actually the people who helped create the system. And those who understood the system, they said, oh, this is how I could rob people, and they don't even know it. That is our system. In fact, I read a book when they created the Federal Reserve back in 1913. The member banks, they came together, right, in secret to make sure that nobody knew that they were building this central bank. And once they accomplished it, and they made a lot of money from the central bank, they actually wrote a book, several books. And one of the books they wrote, they mentioned that we've pulled off the biggest scam against American people and against the world. We're able to print money and have everybody else work for us. Wow. Unbelievable. We're geniuses. And one asked, why would you write that in a book, right? It's because, well, 3% of the population read books. And even if they were to try to point that out, well, they will be ignored. They'll be considered crazy. They'd be thought, well, why would the government do something like that? Government's on our side. They wouldn't try to harm us. But when you have money, in fact, the Rothschilds once said, give me control of the money supply, and I care not who's king. Because now you control all the politicians because you can create money to pay them off. And that's our system. And our system, of course, has an end date because any fraud has an end date. We don't know when that is, but it is coming. Our financial system is basically, looking at a mountain and seeing a big snow overhang and going, yeah, that's not stable. That's going to collapse any day. But you don't know which snowflake is going to hit it and cause the avalanche, wiping out the villages below. And I'm talking the villages, metaphorically, are the people who do not understand how our financial system works, do not believe that, that this thing is going to collapse. They believe that, no, this can continue on forever. But it's a fraud. Why is it a fraud? Because you have to create debt exponentially. Meaning that, so you understand what I mean by creating debt exponentially. I'm going to give you a short story. Let's pretend I'm a banker and all I have is a printing press. And I'm stuck on an island with somebody who's a fisherman and then somebody who's a house builder. And there's no money on the island. And so, as a banker and an entrepreneur, I go, I got an idea. I'll print out some money, right? Cost me like nothing. And I'll lend it to you as the fisherman to go buy that house. Well, fisherman's happy, right? He gets $100 to go buy the house, but hold on, there's a catch. You have to pay me back $110 next month. Well, the fisherman doesn't think too much of it. He pays for his house, and then, he can catch fish, and, sell it to the house maker, right, to give back his $100 to pay the bank, pay me. However, he slowly begins to realize there's only $100 in the whole economy of the island. How is he going to get $110 if there's only $100 on the island? As a banker, right, I'll answer that question. It's real simple. Somebody has to borrow more money from me. And so effectively, our whole system requires that we grow debt exponentially or the whole thing implodes. And because you can't grow at an exponential rate, as you know, for example, Bernie Madoff, he ran the longest Ponzi scheme ever, over 30 years. But what happened? At the end, he ran out of people who were willing to join his Ponzi scheme. And that's coming to the US dollar and our currencies around the world. So let me tie this back to Bitcoin. Well, now that Bitcoin is here, and I was so excited when I first heard about Bitcoin, because I heard about it from a YouTube fan of mine, because I was doing YouTube videos back in 2007, and he said, Da Vinci, what do you think about Bitcoin? I said, scam. You can't solve the double spend problem. It's impossible. I know because I'm a software developer. I tried to do the exact same thing, and I failed because everybody discouraged me. All the developers discouraged me, saying, that's not possible. How could you create a digital asset that you can ensure that nobody's going to copy it and send it twice? So, for example, you know that you can send a music file to 2 of your friends, or 3 of your friends. Also a movie, you can send it to as many friends as you want. So how are you going to have a digital asset that no one's going to copy, nobody's going to have a counterfeit? Well, Satoshi did that with the blockchain, along with Tor. along with also the mining process, ensuring that the whole system together cannot be breached. No one can double spend a Bitcoin once you send it, because everybody knows who has what at the same time. That's the key. And Bitcoin is effectively what electricity is when we lit up the Eiffel Tower. People will look at it and go, oh, this is a waste of time. Where's this going, right? It's only for the rich. And even if they put it in their houses, they could end up burning their whole houses down. It's insane, right? And on top of that, you're using DC electricity. Do you know how much cable you need in order to send DC electricity to a big city? You need a cable the size of a bus, right? So these were some of the problems when they invented electricity. Today, those similar problems exist with Bitcoin. You're like, well, the Bitcoin hash rate is so slow. We can only do 7 transactions, well, right now 14 transactions per second on the Bitcoin network. It's horrible. That's never going to work for money for everybody. Yet, over time, Tesla came up with alternating current. And now he can send electricity over small amounts of wire. This is going to come to Bitcoin very soon. There's going to be a way to send Bitcoins rapidly on high transaction speeds. Maybe it's Lightning Network, maybe it's something else. It's going to happen. Now, Bitcoin is 1,000x better than the money that you guys use today. Why? Because the money you use today robs you, steals from you. Not only steals from you because you're getting taxed, not only steals from you because of the inflation, it just steals from you also because you're thinking, okay, well, prices are going up, so that's horrible, right? My savings is going down. Hold on, dog. You're also getting a paycheck in fiat currency. And prices go up first before your raise. And to add insult to injury, what they do is they only give you a 3% raise, or a raise that maybe if you're lucky, according to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. That is a BS statistic. That only measures prices of food going up directly, but they also take out food that you would switch to. So for example, if you're eating steak and you have to switch to ground beef because it's cheaper, well, because you switched to ground beef, that's okay. The price of beef did not change. So this is how they massage the numbers on the BLS. So effectively, you're taking a loss around, if you head over to shadowstock.com, around 20 to 25% as they print money. And guess who collects that money? Well, obviously the corporations get that difference, not you. So this is why it's a vicious cycle. And with Bitcoin as money, people will be able to grow their wealth beyond what their wild expectations. All that wealth that these corporations have, Jeff Bezos with his super yacht, they shouldn't exist. That's a transfer, wealth transfer. And so once we use Bitcoin as money, you will have 1,000 times more money and wealth than you do now. Yes, you say, okay, well, I'm doing okay. Yes, the reason why you're doing okay is because we innovate. We produce more for less. But even though we're producing more for less, the prices are going higher. If we're using Bitcoin as money, we'd see prices come down rapidly. You'd be able to use less of your money, less of your savings to accomplish something. And so what we'll see is interesting enough. Is just like in electricity. I know I'm a little bit over time, but I want to finish this off. If you were to go back in time and take my cell phone to when they were first lit up the Eiffel Tower and said, hey, in the future you're going to have these computers, what would people say to you? They'd be saying, what the fuck is that? They would have no concept of a cell phone, right? Zero. They wouldn't even know the word computer. So what I want to conclude with is that once Bitcoin becomes money, we're going to see things that you never thought possible, that no one would say. If they were to come back in time and show us this doohickey, we'd be like, what does that do? And it'd be like, for example, oh, that's simple. It allows you to save your Bitcoin, and then it automatically generates interest for you. And you don't have to work. But if you work and add more, you're going to automatically generate interest for you. Until you don't have to work anymore. Because that's coming. Because there's smart contracts that will constantly execute in order to make you more money. And less work for humanity. Yes, of course, there will be people who do have to work, right? That will be working for us, right? For people who have this application. But that's coming. And we're going to see even crazier advances. Because Bitcoin, when it was invented, it created something that was thought to be impossible. And because of that, we are going to create other things that was thought to be impossible. And I'm looking forward to that. Thank you all.